It's time for On Point, where we speak to experts to delve deeper into some of the key issues in the spotlight right now. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has caused an energy crisis in Europe. Russia has reduced or even cut supply of natural gas to certain countries in the region. It has also announced a 3-day shutdown of its Nord Stream 1 pipeline next week for maintenance.
Now, all this has led to a surge in gas prices, which also contributed to inflation. And with winter just around the corner, Europe's dependency on natural gas from Russia will only increase. To dig deeper into this issue, we have Paul J. Saunders, President of Energy Innovation Reform Project, with us today. Very good evening to you in America. Now, first, let's talk about Europe's level of dependency. We all know that it's heavily reliant on Russia, with some countries in the continent relying more than others on Russian gas, of course, and they've been trying their best to reduce their dependency. But how much of Europe's gas currently are supplied by Russia, and are they making progress in terms of procuring alternative supplies?
Well, in 2020, the gas dependency was around 41%. Certainly, it's come down significantly from that level by now, of course, largely because of, or at least partly because of Russia's reductions in supply. I think Europe will be able to get somewhat further through finding alternative sources of gas and, of course, shifting gas consumption to other kinds of energy. The IMF thinks that Russia can reduce its dependence about 70%, at least on a short-term basis. So that would mean, from 40% maybe down to 12–15%, something like that, on a short-term basis at a cost. But we'll have to see how successful the Europeans are. It will be a great test.
Right. And so looking at the current situation, Europe's benchmark Dutch gas futures surged more than 18.5% to 290 euros per megawatt hour on Monday morning, local time. Has the continent ever seen the figure at this level?
No, this is really the highest price that we've seen. There was a pretty steep spike in the immediate aftermath of the Russian invasion, as one might expect. That was a time of great uncertainty. But this price is higher than that. And to give people a sense of perspective, we're talking about a price that's probably about 6 times what it was at this time last year. So that's really a substantial increase.
And the biggest concern amid this unprecedented energy snap is that the situation might get even worse than it already is. As we near winter, what is the worst case scenario that Europe needs to prepare for as temperatures drop?
Well, certainly the worst case scenario is that the Europeans don't have adequate gas supplies, and they need to shut things down. I'm sure that European governments will do everything possible to protect residential consumers from that. But if you're, shutting down factories, shutting down maybe petrochemical plants that need natural gas as a feedstock, these things have significant economic impacts, even if they may not, be raising the gas prices for heating your apartment. I think one of the key questions, and you alluded to this earlier, is this dependency is not evenly distributed, and I think one of the central questions is the extent to which EU member countries will hang together and kind of share their supplies in ways that kind of moderate the overall impacts to the EU as a whole, or whether societies kind of press governments to look out for national interests which might come at the expense of the EU as a whole, and certainly would come at the expense of the countries that are most dependent.
Right, and you mentioned those two ways that Europe could be approaching soon, but now I think it's somewhat related to that situation. Some say Russia is waging a gas war on Europe. What does Russia hope to achieve, and can Europe withstand this pressure?
Well, I think it's quite clear that Russia hopes to persuade voters in European countries that their government's continued support for Ukraine is a mistake and it's making their lives harder. And therefore to encourage publics in Europe to pressure their governments to find some kind of settlement with Russia, or to reduce in one way or another their support for Ukraine. I think certainly what we have seen so far is, I think, largely a hardening of resolve in Europe, as Europeans see themselves as under economic attack, if you will, by Russia. I don't think we know yet whether Europeans can sustain that through the winter. We don't know what will happen in the winter. We don't know what the political implications of that will be. As a general point, I think I'd say that, when leaders ask their societies to make sacrifices, certainly voters ask, how much do you want from me? But they also ask, why? Why do you want it from me? And I think at this time, Europeans, generally speaking, understand the why. They understand why it's necessary to bear these costs, and time will tell if things stay that way. But that certainly seems to be the case today.
Well, thank you so much for joining the program today, and hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you. Certainly hope so. A pleasure to see you.